We are Frank and Daphne, two not-so-young retirees from Canada who developed a love for cycle touring fairly late in life. In 2022, we decided to do a ride that would take us across Europe from the North Sea to the Adriatic. The route we planned started in Amsterdam, where we'd head west to dip our toes in the North Sea along the Netherlands coast, then follow the River Rhine upstream on EuroVelo 15 into Germany, a little bit of France and Switzerland, as far as Lake Constance. Here we'd leave the Rhine, switch to EuroVelo 6 and follow the River Danube from the Black Forest as far as the city of Passau in Germany. Then we'd leave the Danube and head in a southerly direction through Austria. This section is actually a little piece of EuroVelo 7. Then in Salzburg we'll pick up the popular Alps to Adriatic cycle trail, locally known as the Ciclovia Alp Adria Radweg, which will lead us through the Alps, across the border into Italy and down to the Adriatic coast at a little town called Grado, about 100 kilometers east of Venice. So we hope you'll come along with us on the ride and join our adventure and see how we get on as we share this journey over several episodes. Here we are back in the cycle-friendly MK Hotel in Passau, where our bikes have rested in their special bike storage room for the last 3 days while we took a break. We're well rested now after our lovely time hanging out in Czesky Krumlov in the Czech Republic with Frank's brother and sister-in-law, who made the 3-hour drive down from the north of the country where they live to spend time with us. Czesky Krumlov is a very picturesque UNESCO medieval town situated on a great big S-bend in the Vltava River, the same river that Prague sits on. Dominating the city is its stunning 13th century castle, sitting high above the old town with its many narrow cobbled lanes and lovely squares. The town has been blessed with a peaceful evolution over 5 centuries, thus preserving its architectural heritage. Of course, this does also mean that it can be very touristy. And there just happened to be a Renaissance festival on during our stay, so we got a glimpse of how the place might have felt in a bygone era, complete with the music and also a great array of street food and, of course, beer. Back here in Passau, our plan is to get back on the bikes this morning and head south towards Salzburg in Austria, which is where the Alps to Adriatic trail officially begins. 3 rivers join forces here in Passau. The Danube is joined by the mountain-fed River Inn, which has made its way down from near St. Moritz in the Swiss Alps via the city of Innsbruck. It's this river that will be keeping us company this morning on our ride south. And the other tributary joining the Danube here is the much smaller Ilz River, coming from the north in Germany. Last night we did a little tour of Passau and saw where these rivers converge. Sunday morning, and we just left our hotel in Passau. We are going to now ride down to Salzburg along the River Inn. And that is the River Inn right there. We have to cross that bridge and we'll be riding on the other side, we think. It's a beautiful morning. The weather forecast is pretty hot today. We're ready for the day. And this is the River Inn, just before it joins the Danube. It's interesting that although the Inn has a greater average flow than the Danube as they converge in Passau, it's considered a tributary of the Danube, which has a greater length, drains a larger surface area, and has a more consistent flow. Once we cross this bridge, we should be connecting with EuroVelo 7, which in this area follows a route known locally as the Tauern Radweg. And for quite a while only the river will be separating us from Germany, since the river forms the boundary with Austria for the next little while. We are going to Scharding. We're entering Austria! This is Scharding, the Gothic town. We are taking lots of breaks today, anytime we can find shade, as it's really hot. We just had refreshments at St. Florian. This is a lovely path along the Inn River on the R3, except they have these things every once in a while, which are a bugger for a big load. Takes two. Okay, got it. Frank's computer on his handlebars is reading 34 degrees right now, and generally this path is relatively flat, but it's got lots of little ups and downs keeping us on our toes. Reichersberg Abbey is still an active monastery. It hosts an annual music festival, produces wine, liqueurs and spirits, and it operates as an inn, which is even bike-friendly with lockable bike storage. Obernberg. Rather quiet today, Sunday afternoon, but very pretty. Since leaving Passau this morning, we've hugged the east side of the river pretty closely, following the Tauern Radweg, which overlaps with the Inn Radweg, the R3A and the R3 routes respectively, shown in a solid red line on this map. From Oberndorf, we're aiming for Braunau, or however far we get in that direction. Our map shows a campground past Braunau, so we have that in the back of our minds. And so far, we've been able to follow the R3 and 3A signage quite well. We've been hearing on the news that all of Europe is having a heat wave at the moment. Northern Italy is having drought conditions, and it's supposed to be about 34 degrees in this area, and I believe it. It's very hot. Here we are in the little village of Kirchdorf at about 4 p.m, dying from the heat and having some water and snacks and a siesta. Braunau is about 20 kilometers from here. Where is everybody? Sunday afternoon, scorching hot. We are riding along the top of this flood dike on our way to Braunau, and boy is it hot. There's no shade up here. What do you think the temperature is, Frank?
24.
Yikes, 34? So we're now 74 kilometers south of Passau, and we're at a campground, I think. We're just going to enter in here. Looks like it's the real thing.
Hundred meters to the campground.
Good. Looks promising. Well, we did eventually manage to muster up the energy to get to this campground just south of Braunau by about 8 p.m. And although the adjoining guest house restaurant had closed at 6 p.m, they did sell us a few cold beers, which went down very well, I can tell you. Monday morning, leaving our campground. We started off a little bit thundery and rainy this morning, but it never got too bad. Anyway, we're on our way towards Salzburg. We won't get to Salzburg today, but we'll get close. And that was a good camp spot last night for €14. And we're back on the Radweg along the river Inn. Oh, it looks a little different today. A little bit bleak. The town of Braunau, just north of here, has an interesting claim to fame. It was the birthplace of Adolf Hitler, and apparently Hitler's father worked here in Braunau as a border guard. The family later moved to Passau. So we're actually on the 3A now, the R3A. Today's route on the R3A We'll only be hugging the Inn River for a little while longer before we leave her for her tributary, the Salzach, which will then follow all the way to Salzburg, all the while staying on the Austrian side of the river, but just a stone's throw from Germany. The Tauern Radweg is shown with a solid green line on the map, if you can even see that. Beautiful along here right now, and the rain this morning cooled things down nicely. We're not far from the main road, I guess. I can hear the cars. At least it's not 34 degrees. It's damp and cool and beautiful. So we are at the point now where we're leaving the River Inn, joining the River Salzach. This is where the two of them meet. Or it's very close to it anyway. Looks like we have a big descent from the highway back down to the river now. We've had a couple of hills today. So we've now finally reached the banks of the Salzach River for the first time, just opposite the German town of Burghausen, with its amazing ridgetop Gothic castle, which is the world's longest castle complex, confirmed by the Guinness World Record Company. It's over 1 kilometre long. It's been the story of your trip, hasn't it? Your sad air mattress leaking. And then your new one. After trying and failing to find somewhere to eat in this little community called Ach on the Austrian side, we decided to ride across to Germany for lunch, and we got to see Burghausen's delightful old town that sits underneath the big castle. R3A doesn't believe in staying on the flats.
Slow down, mama, why you talk so mean?
We're still on the R3A, but it's taken us onto a quietish road for a while. After Burghausen, We climbed up to some higher wooded areas before eventually enjoying a nice long descent to the low-lying agricultural plains closer to the river, where we soon decided it was time to cross to Germany again for afternoon refreshments, this time to the town of Tittmoning.
Hold on, sugar, why you look so sad? Come on now.
We're just crossing back into Germany for coffee in Tittmoning.
We start a party on down the street with Mary Jane, good cocaine, plenty down there to eat. Double down, throw some dice, take off now, don't think twice. But hey, don't you wanna play? Baby, come on.
We have about 10 to 12k to go to Oberndorf, where we have a hotel booked. There's a lack of campgrounds on the route, and at this point on our journey we're not looking for any extra miles to head off in another direction for a campground. So a hotel it is. By 6 o'clock we had rolled into the town of Oberndorf, only about 20 kilometres north of Salzburg, where we enjoyed delicious traditional food, schnitzel and goulash, at our comfy hotel, feeling excited at the thought of reaching the city of Mozart the next day. On the 24th of December 1818, the song Silent Night was heard by the public for the very first time in a church in this very village. The words were written by a young priest and the melody by a stand-in organist during the turbulent time of the Napoleonic Wars. Of course, this song is now known around the world, and although the original church is no longer standing, today's Silent Night Chapel, built on the same site, commemorates these two local men and that special night. Tuesday morning, June 21st. Oberndorf, about 25 kilometres to the city of Salzburg, looking across the river at Laufen. This used to be all one city historically, but many wars divided them into two countries, Germany and Austria. Although they're linked by a couple of bridges, they're now in separate countries and separate towns. So not long after leaving Oberndorf, we rejoined the Salzach River, and we're riding along its banks in this lovely cool forest. And this path will take us all the way into downtown Salzburg. It was a very straightforward ride along the river, right into the heart of Salzburg, where the first thing you notice is the commanding 900-year-old castle perched on the top of the cliff, and the old town sits beneath it. We'd seen a great number of beautiful towns and cities already on this bike tour, so one might wonder if this would be just one more to add to the blur of places we'd seen. However, Salzburg did offer something a little bit different, not least its stunning mountain surroundings. Its architecture too is a little different, in part because it's where Italian and German cultures met, and so many of the Baroque buildings owe their appearance to their Italian architects. We had booked ourselves into a little guest house right in the centre for 2 nights so that we could enjoy exploring this city, famous for Mozart and the sound of music. To borrow some words from the Lonely Planet guide, everywhere you go, the scenery, the skyline, the music and the history send your spirits soaring higher than Julie Andrews' octave-leaping vocals." Unquote. The city is renowned for its arts and music, so in keeping with that, we spent our first evening attending a chamber music performance in the ornate Marmorsaal, or Marble Hall, inside the Schloss Mirabell. Beforehand, we wandered its beautiful gardens where the Von Trapp family practiced their do-re-mi in the Sound of Music movie. They danced around this Pegasus fountain. On our second day, we attended an organ concert in the magnificent cathedral. Mozart was baptized here, and his birthplace is just around the corner. Back at the guest house, our bikes are still here resting safely in the backyard tonight. And now that we've had a really good helping of culture, we are eager and ready to hit the road again in the morning for this next much anticipated section of the trail, the 400-kilometre long Ciclovia Alp-Adria Radweg, or as we call it, the Alps to Adriatic. That's going to take us through the Alps to Italy and on down to the sea. So far we've ridden about 2,400 kilometres from Amsterdam to here, and as nice as that has been, our expectations are even higher for this next bit as we've heard so many great things about this trail. So we're about to find out for ourselves.